Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis. And I always like to introduce the team members, the team that God has provided me. So let me start with my faithful assistant, Faith. There she is. I've known Faith since the day she was born. Wow, that's so weird when you think about that 21 years ago. Crazy. Anyway, when she was 3 weeks old, her dad brought her to church, and he would work the soundboard with one hand and hold her in the other. And when she was starting to crawl, he would just let go of her and she'd crawl right up on stage, and we'd leave her there because she acted like she belonged there. And I had a portable mic at the time, so I could step over her. But as she grew in the church, she and her sister started doing functions like ushers, like handing out the affirmation cards we used to do every Sunday. I'm so glad we don't have to do that anymore. That was a lot of work. But anyway, and then her dad was a tow truck driver, and they grew up like 6 blocks from my house. So when he would go on out of town tows, he would drop the girls at my house. And I always have projects going on. That's just kind of how I live my life. And so I got to see how Faith worked. And then when she was 14 and a half, she said, I want a real job this year. And so I hired her for my ozone business, and she was the best out of the 3 assistants I've had. And then when we went live for the pandemic, I asked her if she wanted to be my ministerial assistant, and she said yes. So here we are, 5 years later, almost to the day. It's so crazy. Time just really flies by.
Yeah, it does.
But anyway, she is the woman behind the scenes that does everything, so that I can just focus on speaking. Because if I try to multitask when I'm speaking, I get interrupted in my mind and lose my train of thought, and then I can't pick up where I left off. So she does all the important functions behind the scenes. So in the Wizard of Oz, you pull back the curtain and you see this old guy. Well, here you see Faith. And when we're in a facility, I can look out and see all the shining faces beaming back at me. Here I get a number. I don't even get a name, so I don't know who's in attendance. So what happens is if you say hi, hello, good morning, the way we would like you to, so I know that you're here, Faith will answer you as me. And she knows me better than I know myself most of the time. So I've only had to, like, twice in 5 years go back and answer a question or add something to what somebody was asking or saying. So she's also our solo. So anyway, so say hello, good morning, hi, however you want to greet us. And if you're stopping by later, by all means, just say hi. Just let me know you stopped by. And she's also our soloist. And today she's going to be singing, oh, and it slipped right out of my head. You're muted, I think.
Sorry, I have a dog barking. Change the Way by Karen Drucker.
Change the Way. That's right. By Karen Drucker. Awesome. And so, you know, we like to do a lot of Karen Drucker songs because she gifted us with her entire collection, so we'd be able to have a church service that included music. So, and thankfully, when Tina needed to take a break, an extended break, Faith stepped up and said, well, I can sing. And here we are, almost 5 years later. I think Tina was our singer for, gosh, about a year after the pandemic. And then in 2021, I think she decided she needed to clean up her house to get it ready for sale. And she comes back on the weeks or on the months where we have what she calls the crying season, meaning she'll be here next week. That's Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Memorial Day. And so Faith and Tina split up the songs because it's we do a healing ceremony and there's a lot of music to it. So anyway, all right. Thank you so much for being here. We couldn't do this without you. All right. And then there's my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz, who's been with me since 1998. He was my first baby practitioner, meaning he took all of his training with me, except for, I think, one class that he took at Mile High. And then he was my board president for many years and moved off to Florida, and we lost the ability to have him in the service. So when the pandemic hit, we went live, and I said, hey, would you be willing to be our practitioner of the day? And here we are 5 years later, and I don't think either one of us thought that it was going to be every weekend for 5 years, but here we are. Anyway, he is the practitioner of the day, which means that he'll be doing our invocation, our benediction, maybe our benediction. We have to see. He's at an event.
I'm reliving my teenage geek years. It's the 50th anniversary of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and they're doing a special screening of it.
I know. Lynn would be so proud. He loved Monty Python.
Oh, God. Yeah, I had the whole thing memorized. I was 13 years old. It was atrocious, but hey, there we go.
Yeah, I hear you. But normally he does the invocation benediction, and he's available at the end for our 1 minute miracle. That's probably going to be me today. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. I couldn't do this without you. Love you. All right. So today's topic is who's living in your house? We'll get into that. That's all I'm going to say for right now. I also want to introduce our adjunct music team, which Karen Drucker, we already talked about, but also Reverend Fairy Lane Silver, who was the first to ask us to do music in the service, her music in the service. And I already told you about Albertina Giffray. And so we know her as Tina. Let's see, there's a watch party button. If you would like to introduce your friends to the kind of service they can expect on a Sunday morning, click that watch party button and invite them all. And there's a private chat kind of set up. So if they have questions, you'll be able to answer them and not bother anyone else. So definitely hit that watch party button and invite your friends. All right. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God is always right where we are, for God, as we conceive of it, is in all things, as all things, in all spaces, at all times. Therefore, God must be right here, right now, wherever we are, whenever we are. And I know that God's presence is working its way through our service, expressing itself uniquely through each of us to each of you. And I know that the messages that we pass along here touch the lives just as they need to be touched. I know that there is a blessing involved, and I give thanks for being part of that blessing. And knowing this is so, I let it be, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. I love the scenery behind you. It's so calming.
Yeah.
I love Florida. I wish I could get there.
Downtown St. Pete.
Yeah, I recognize it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oz. Enjoy your
Love you.
event. Love you too. Okay, this next song is one that Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver wrote while she was in her practitioner training, and it is called We Are All One. It's a great reminder of how connected we are to all of life.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Yes, we are all one in it. If you are just now joining us, we ask that you say hi, hello, good morning. Just let us know that you're here. When we're in a facility, I get to see the shining faces beaming back at me here. I get a number. I don't even get names. So I like to know who's here. Also, if you stop by later, just say hello. Just let me know that you were here. If you like something that you hear, use that thumbs up. And if you love something, send us hearts because we love to get love. And if I'm really on target with what I'm saying, by all means, use that wow button. And that goes for anything I say, Oz prays or Faith sings or any of the things that she shows up on camera to do. So anything you like, love, or feel like is right on target, let us know. That feedback is very important to us. All right. Without further ado, here is Faith singing Change the Way by Karen Drucker. Right?
Thank you. Yes. What do you want? Where do you want to go? You'll get what you want if you act as if you know. It starts with you. Do you believe it? It's all in the way that you choose to see it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do. When you feel lost and you can't find your way, keep your eye on the prize. It will materialize. You can't miss. Change your procession, leading you to a new direction. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do. change, change. You can do it, change, change. It's a sure thing, change, change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. Change the way you look at things. The things you look at change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do.
There it is. I always have the hardest time because I go up and down. You know, I have two screens, so I'm working on my notes, and then I forget that I have to come all the way down here to push the button. So thank you so much. One of my favorite songs that she does. She's awesome. All right. So as I said, the topic today is who's living in your house. And I don't mean your physical house. I mean in your mind. And that could be somebody at work. That could be somebody in your house, physically in your house. It could be a set of friends that you have. It could be anybody. So do you have people in your house that, drive you out of your mind? Anybody like that? Anybody in your life like that? And you feel like, if they would just shape up, you would be so much happier, right? Oh, it's crazy. But you can have that same reality that you want, right? The only thing is you have to do it in your own mind. You can't change someone's behavior, but what you can do, because people are mirrors, they show up just to show us where our unhealed stuff is. So if we work on our unhealed stuff, then they either disappear or they become not a problem anymore, right? And so that's what we're going to focus on talking about today, is how to do that work. Jesus said, enemies are those in your own house, in your own house. What is it? In a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Okay, paraphrasing that, your enemies are in your own mind. I know, like, sometimes we want to get away from people because we think what they think of us determines how we act. But the truth of the matter is, we care far too much what people think about us. They really don't think about us when you get right down to it. They do what they do. We do what we do. And everybody sort of goes along their own pathway, and they don't even really think about us. It's our fear of their judgment that causes us to want to get away from them. That's not necessarily the solution either. The solution is to stay right where you are and focus on what is unhealed. I took this relationship course years ago. Gosh, it's got to be 40 years ago, from this man named Dr. Jim Munson at Mile High Church. And he was talking about that, he'd been married, I think 5 times total. And he said that, every time he would leave a relationship and he'd get into another one, he'd say, I recognize you. The face is different, but you're the same person. And what he realized was that until he could heal that part of himself where he was the only one present in all those relationships, so it had to be him, right? Until he could work on his unhealed stuff, he was going to keep meeting the same basic person. And I think we do that with all of the people in our lives, right? We expect them to change their behavior so we feel better. But the only thing that we can do is to work on the unhealed stuff within us. So, for instance, I had this one lady, and that's another thing I want to say real quick, is that we don't tell other people that we're just being a mirror for them. Because they stop hearing everything you say past that point. I had somebody do that to me one time, and I was so angry with her that I didn't get her message for 20 years. And 20 years later, I finally saw what she was trying to tell me. But, you know, we can't do that when we're in the midst of defending ourselves. But that's what happens. The minute somebody says, I'm just being a mirror for you, we get defensive, right? So we want to make sure that our house is undivided, that our house is solid, like the foundation of our mental, emotional, spiritual house is solid enough to be able to withstand this world. And that's where it can be a little strange. Jesus said, in my Father's house are many mansions. So where is God in personal tragedy, right? God has to be in the midst of that because we can't get away from God. God is within and around and through us. And so we forget and we think, okay, so if I'm in the midst of this personal tragedy, God has deserted me. And that's not even possible. I used to love to watch this guy, Pastor Dennis Leonard, with the Christian Heritage Center, because he was such a master at demonstration. Like one of his demonstrations was goodness and mercy. And I was watching him on TV one day, and he wanted these like ushers who look like bouncers in the nightclub, you know. He actually went to church. We actually went to church. Lynn and I actually went to church there one time to see, and holy cow, all the ushers are like big burly men, like bouncers in a nightclub. Anyway, he had one on each side of him, and he said, I want to introduce you to goodness and mercy. And then he took off running through the church, and they dodged him and, you know, back and forth like this. And he said, see that? You can't get away from goodness and mercy. It'll follow you all the days of your life, right? Great demonstration. But what's really true is God can't desert us. I mean, if you think of it in those terms, God can't desert us because it's inside of us. So it's not someone you know up in the sky somewhere judging you, punishing, and rewarding and all of that. It's not that. It's a choice for us to recognize that God is fully present in our life. So I have this friend. She was a friend in the school of ministry, Reverend Paula, and she left me her mirror when she died. And I used to call it Paula's looking glass. We had it in the classroom for many years. I'm not even sure what happened to it now that we've moved out of the facility, but Paula's looking glass was magic to me because Paula was magic. She was something else. We would leave at the same time to go to the same destination, and she didn't speed or anything, but her consciousness was, I will get there exactly when I need to be there. No traffic, nothing will impede that process. So she would go and she'd get there like 5 minutes earlier than me, but I'd get caught at stoplights, or I'd have traffic, or something else would happen. And so I always thought of her as this, she's magic, you know. And she developed pancreatic cancer right before my oral panels as a minister. And she was, she lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I went out there to visit her. And they had rented a boathouse. And we went out on a raft in the middle of the lake, and we were talking, and I said, you know, so what's going on, you know, and she told me, and she said, but, you know, they say that the statistics are that 60-year-old men die from pancreatic cancer. Do I look like a 60-year-old man to you? I'm like, no. I said, but Paula, you know, I need to find out what you want. If you want to live, I'll pray for that. If you want to die, I'll pray for that. I just need to know what you want so that I can put my prayers in the right perspective. And she said, I don't plan on going anywhere. What I heard was I want to live. Did you hear any of that? So her numbers were going down, and her doctor said, well, we have this experimental therapy, chemo, that we think might help your numbers go faster because we're not happy at the rate at which your cells are decreasing. So she went ahead and did the experimental therapy, and 2 weeks later she was gone. And basically her organs dissolved. And I was on a real pity party for myself. I was angry at her. I was angry at God. I was angry at everybody because I thought I heard that she wanted to live. And I was doing my best to pray her back to health, right? And when she died 2 weeks before my ministerial panels, I was really on a tear. So I called up my friend, Reverend Bonnie Allen Rice, who was at that time the only, what do you call it? Sure. Anyway, she worked in AIDS hospitals and, worked with a lot of death and dying, And so I said to her, I don't understand. She said she wanted to live. And she said, tell me the conversation again. So I told her the conversation. She said, where in there did you hear her say, I want to live? I had to stop and think about that for a while because we make these presumptions about what people are saying. We hear it with our own take on it, right? And we very rarely hear the exact thing that the person is saying because we are very invested in what the outcome is. And so I had to really come to terms within myself with that place that wanted her to live. It wasn't about whether, from the bottom of my heart, I did believe that I wanted what she wanted. But once I distilled it all down, that really wasn't true. I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted her to stick around. I did not want her to leave this planet. And so I had to deal with all of those emotions around it. And once I got through that, I realized how often we do that to people. How often we right away think we know what the other person is saying or feeling or believing. And we need to ask more questions like, tell me more about that. Because if I make an assumption about what you're saying, then I get all up in my defenses, right? And so I had to learn to allow people to elaborate a little bit about what it is that they're saying. And so basically what happens is we have to allow people to be who they are without condition, right? They may not make the same choices we would. They may not want to listen to our wisdom. They may not want to move to the drum beat that we move to. And that's okay, because they're being a mirror for our unhealed stuff. And as soon as we can heal our stuff, then whatever it is they're doing is no longer triggering us. And so I like to think of it this way, that because I've been through all of these experiences. I've been through the experience of running away to California to get away from people and then find those same people in California. I moved there specifically so I wouldn't run into old high school friends or guys that I had dated prior. And lo and behold, they ended up in California the same time I was. So I went through that experience, and I've been through the experience of looking at people and thinking, if you would just blah, fill in the blank, I would be happy. And I had to realize that instead of wanting to be right, I wanted to be happy. And so I would make that choice all the time because we really want to be right. I know we do. That's an ego thing. But spiritually, what's true is that we want happiness. And you can't have happiness while you are trying to be right? You can only have happiness when you let go of that need to be right. And so when we have people in our lives that are showing up to show us unhealed stuff, we can certainly heal that by working on our unhealed stuff. But we have to do it in our own mind. It's not something you can impose on another person. And what's interesting is in society, we have all these judgments about what we should or shouldn't do or how we should be. And we either conform to that and are unhappy, or we combat it because we don't want to be that, and then we're unhappy. So the purpose of all of it is to, I mean, like, think about wearing white shoes after Labor Day. What an idiotic thing that we do. But it's become a norm in our society about it. Now, I can either, go, okay, I won't wear white shoes after Labor Day, or I can go, I'm going to wear white shoes as long as I want, right? Either one of those stances puts us in a defensive position, when in fact, all we have to do is look at our unhealed stuff and it won't be an issue anymore. It won't trigger us anymore. And then whether we wear white shoes on after Labor Day or not is no big deal. But there's so many societal norms that we are asked to either conform to or struggle against. And either way, we're not happy, right? Our happiness lies in our choices that, regardless of what anybody else thinks, are the choices we're making. And it's okay. But the only way to get there is by working on the unhealed stuff that says, so-and-so hates me, or, that person thinks this about me, or being afraid of what people think about you. I personally don't really care what people think about me that much. I do things because as a minister, I kind of have to. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I have to hold the space in this political environment. I have to hold the space for both sides, because I have people who are Democrats in my congregation, and I have people who are Republicans in my congregation. And so what I do is I hold the space for them to grow and learn and process their unhealed stuff and uplift and inspire them no matter who they are. So for me to take a side one way or the other would not benefit them, and it wouldn't benefit me at all. And it wouldn't benefit the church, right? What I don't do is I don't fear what I'm saying. There are times when I will say things that are more political than I perhaps would like, but I try really hard not to be political because I don't want to alienate somebody whose beliefs are different than mine, right? I'm here to heal the planet. I'm not here to make people conform to my ideal. Okay. One of the things, like here, if somebody is begging on the corner, we get angry, right? Why don't you just go get a job? And then you go over to India, and it's a practice. It's a spiritual practice of begging on the streets of India. They take their begging bowl and they sit in the street, and people give them money, and that's how they survive. It happens when you're young, and it happens, I think it's age 65, maybe it's 60, I can't remember, where the spiritual practice is to retire, basically, give away all of your belongings and sit in the street and beg. And that is showing an advanced spirituality, right? So depending on what culture you're from, you're going to have different ideals. And that's why we can't enforce our ideals on anyone else, right? And the societal norm doesn't really mean anything unless it's something that we really believe in, okay? We're not following it just because it's a societal norm, but because we really believe in not wearing white after Labor Day or not begging. But I had this one friend who's a perfect example of just being herself and us loving her for just who she was, who she is. I think she's still alive. But Ernestine was this amazing woman who, she was a Playboy bunny long time ago, and she worked in the Playboy Club. And she met this comedian there named George, gosh, I know it's in my notes here, George, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he started to become, he was in the C crowd of entertainers. And, there was an A group, a B group and a C group. And he was in the C group. And as he became more famous, he would go on, he would open for some of the big names. And so he was on a plane with Jim Croce when it went down. And she lost her husband. Everybody on the plane died. And she lost her husband. And she ended up marrying a friend of ours, Bobby Allison, as her second husband. But anyway, she had been doing stained glass for so long that it had affected her brain cells. And so she did the most extraordinarily weird things. Like, one of the things was she went out and she got this fish tank, and she went and bought all these fish because they were pretty, and she put them all in the same tank. So they go out to dinner and they come home, and the fish tank basically has no water in it, and there are fish everywhere. There's fish hanging from the doorknobs and fish all over the counter, because she didn't pay attention to whether they would get along or not, because she didn't know she needed to. She just thought they were pretty, so let's just put them all in the same thing. Another thing was she dropped her, I think it was her engagement ring, down the drain in the kitchen because she was washing dishes or something and took it off. And she said, "Oh, Bobby, can you come undo the thing on the bottom, the drain thing, so I can get my ring?" And he goes to do that, and he's all dressed up for a gig. He was a musician. He's all dressed up for a gig, and he's dressed in complete white. And he gets under the sink, and he takes that pipe off, and she turns on the water. And, she didn't do any of this on purpose. This is just the way her brain would work. So she used to bring home all these homeless people all the time. And we were always in fear for her life, because you don't know these people. She would get them off the street and just bring them home, and they'd stay there for however long. And she kept saying, "But they're so sweet," And I sat and talked to them. I tried to get over my own phobia about it. And I would sit and talk to them. And some of them were, in fact, really good people. Some of them were schizophrenic and had real bad mental issues. Which, again, I was fearful for her life. I would never invite them home, but it taught me something. It taught me about judgment. It taught me about, being able to take people as they are and not need them to be something different. Excuse me. For instance, here's another Ernie story. So she was watching her 18-month-old niece or nephew, I'm not sure. Anyway, and she had him, I think it was a boy, she had him napping in the basement. And she bought a pizza and she put it in the oven and forgot about it, and it caught on fire. And she's running around the house just like frantically trying to figure out what she should take out. So she went and she got this Buddha statue that was handcrafted. It even had like little toes crafted on the bottom. And so she runs out in the street. The firemen come, they go in the house, and they go down to the basement, and they come back out with this 18-month-old child and go, "Did you forget something?" She goes, "Oh, I forgot he was even here." That's what lead does to your brain, by the way. But I learned to appreciate Ernestine's personality and her logic. For instance, I would invite her to come to my house, and she'd go, "No, you should come over here. It's much closer over here than it is to your house." And I'm like, "Maybe for you." And she goes, No, the distance is completely different. And I'm like, okay. But, the old me would have asked her to change who she was to be my friend. And instead of doing that, I just learned to accept her for who she is. And truth be told, I really miss her. They've moved. They were in the middle of Katrina. They had moved out of state. And Bobby actually lost everything, all his masters of all of his work and everything. But I really miss her. and her logic, because it was very entertaining. And some of the stunts she pulled were very entertaining. So when we start to look at the people in our lives that are causing us to be triggered, we want to look at them as mirrors reflecting back to us our unhealed stuff. And when we're willing to work on that and work on being happy versus being right, when we're willing to do all of that work, the people in our lives don't trigger us anymore. And we can sit back and enjoy them with their personalities being really, really, really different sometimes. And so you need to ask yourself this question: who's living in my mental house? Who is it that is triggering me? And what do I need to do about that? What are they representing to me? For instance, when we're afraid of judgment, it's because we are judging ourselves. And so when we're not judging others and we're not judging ourselves, we're free to be happy and to have joy in our lives and to have a real experience of life. And so I can't remember if there's anything else I need to say about this. I don't know. I know. I would experiment with my feelings, for one thing. When when someone comes up and says something that triggers us, we want to look at our own feelings about it. Like, why am I triggered by this? What is it from my past that is causing me to be triggered? Because sometimes, most of the time actually, when someone is triggering us, it's something in our past that has created a blockage. And the idea is not to live in the past and not to live in the future, but to live in the here and now, because that's where our freedom and our joy is found. That's where happiness lives. And so we have to let go of everybody from the past because they can't exist here and now. I just lost my ex-fiance. We were together 55 years ago. But we stayed in touch all these years, and he passed away the other day. And I really had to think about why I had never let go of him. Like, what in my past was so important that I needed to keep him in my life. And as I did that work, I began to, it's not that I'm not sad about his life, but I began to recognize that there wasn't a place for him in my reality now. And so the grief was brief. I didn't obsess over it for months and months and months, or years and years and years and years. I was able to get through it in just a few short days. And I don't say over it, I'd say through it, maybe would be a better way to say it. But anyway, so I strongly suggest that anytime someone triggers you, that you start looking at what it is in your past that needs to be let go of, and what unhealed stuff you need to work on. What feelings do you need to release in order for you to experience in the here and now your happiness and your joy? Can you do that with me this week? Okay, let's have a prayer. Right now, I just tune into the infinite power and the infinite presence of God that flows through all, beaming through us the beauty of life. For God is simply all there is, all powerful, all knowing, all being, beauty, love, abundance, all of the qualities that we admire, all in God. That is where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through all of life. I know the same truth to be so for every member of the team that God has provided. For I know that they are one in that infinite power, infinite presence of God. And that same ancient wisdom of the ages flows through them as much as me. For it flows through all of life, and it inspires and leads us and guides us to what ought to be done by us. And so I know the same truth to be so for everyone listening today, whether that be in real time or later on, because I know that same ancient wisdom of the ages flows through them as well. We are all one. Mitakuye and all my brethren, we are connected. We are related. So I bless this coming week with a knowingness of our part in experiencing other people. And all experience leads us back to the inside of our heart, to the inside of our mind. In that space where we work on that healing, we are ascended to a higher vibration. We allow ourselves the joy and happiness of the here and now. And so I bless this week with experiences of that. I bless every name that's in the ministry of prayer with that same awareness, because I do know that whatever the circumstance, whatever issue, God is the answer. I pull back the veil and reveal that truth. I claim it for them in their name as good and very good. And so my heart fills with gratitude to know this is, and I just let it be. And so it is. Amen.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world.
Thank you, Faith. All right, this is our opportunity to receive your gift, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to share your feeling of gratitude for that which you have received in the physical realm, or perhaps what you have created in the mind of God and have not yet received in the physical realm. And so in a moment, I'm going to have you go with me to www.oasiscsl.org and say the offering affirmation with me. That's about 2/3 down the page. But underneath that is a contribute now button. So let me just say something briefly about contribution, because this is what's going on, what you're contributing to. When we're in a facility, there's rent and utilities, and you pay the minister. We don't have any of that because we don't have a facility. So the only paid person here is Faith, and we pay her to be part of the service. And all the background stuff that she does, including, singing and all that. And then on top of that, we have a vision for a healed world. And our mission is healing the world one person at a time. So when you contribute, what you're doing is you're basically helping us get to our vision through our mission, because it takes money to market to the whole world. We have people from India, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Germany, UK, Holland. We already have people like that who are attending our services later on, obviously. But we want to extend that to the global world, and it costs money to do that. So please go with me now, whether you're in real time or later on, to www.oasiscsl.org and say this offering affirmation with me. This perfect gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive, and so it is. All right, hit that contribute now button and help us get to our vision through our mission. All right. We have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast that serve our church in 3 different ways. The first way is, if you would like prayer for something, you put it in the comments section, and our practitioners, our licensed practitioners, will pray on those every day for a week. We call our practitioners the God Squad, because I had a vision in like 1998 of practitioners just coming in the room, taking charge, marching in, taking charge. So they've been the God Squad ever since. And so if you don't want your request to be public, you can DM Faith, and she will make sure that it gets to the God Squad so that they can pray on those requests. The second way is by offering spiritual guidance by appointment for a fee. And the way you do that is at this point, it's only Oz, but the way you do that is you message him and let him know that you would like spiritual guidance, and he will let you know how to pay for it. The practitioners have their own business, so we don't get involved in that. I don't get involved in that. Some use PayPal, some use Venmo, some use Cash App, some use Wise. I don't know. There's a bunch of them out there. Zelle. I can't remember what the worldwide one is. But anyway, he'll let you know how to pay for it, and then he will reach out to you by video chat at the appointed time. And this is a wonderful service that our practitioners provide, because when you're in the midst of something, it's very difficult to see the spiritual truth for yourself. So they help you by seeing the spiritual truth for you and guiding you to the place where you see the spiritual truth for yourself. So they're empowering you to do that. The third way that our practitioners serve our church is by being practitioner of the day, which was partially us and partially me today. And that is where they do the invocation, benediction, and then they're available at the end for a 1-minute miracle. It's not a time for counseling, but it is a time where you can share with them whatever you're experiencing, and they will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. So take advantage of this loving service that these practitioners provide, because I think that's one of the greatest benefits of having a church community is the practitioners that serve you. All right. Check out, we love to support those who support our church. So check out Brooks and Bailey. Let me get that up here. This is the only time I have to do this. Faith usually does all the rest of it. Brooks and Bailey, you can reach them through brooksandbailey0307@gmail.com or their Facebook page. I do try and post when they have an event. I try to share it where they have a booth. But all of the proceeds go to benefit Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, which is a very worthy cause, I believe. They have all kinds of jewelry, but I like to focus in on the mala beads because they're so useful for doing your affirmations. The Hindus and the Buddhists use it like this with one bead at a time, and then they do their chants. Well, I think that's a great way to get your 100 affirmations in. The necklace has 108 beads, and the bracelets have 54 beads. This particular one is amethyst, so it is $60, but they have all kinds of gemstones that are $30 and up for the necklace, and it's like $15 to $25 for the bracelets. So definitely check these ladies out. They have really good merchandise. Second is Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver, who her website, for some reason, she's not able to change the website so that she can put the form of payment on there. So what you have to do is go on her website, check out and see what kind of CD you want, and then email her. And she'll tell you how to pay for it. Then you pay for it. She goes around singing around the country, and she always has a trunk full of CDs. And so as soon as you pay for it, she's really good at getting it out quickly. The other one is Karen Drucker, whose website does work. You can buy it by the song, by the karaoke file, by the CD, the songbook, so you have the lyrics. And some of the songbook pages actually have American Sign Language in case you're interested in learning how to sign a song. I almost picked a song for today that had signing in it, but it was a contemporary song, so I elected not to do it because they mute us when we do that. Anyway, so Faith and I really like the Songs of Spirit series, which is Songs of Spirit and then Songs of Spirit 2, 3, and 4. But there are really good CDs that have songs like she did today and like we did last week, and those are really great too. So definitely check out these two ladies. I normally point you to our website. You can go there to see what your spiritual family looks like. We're having an issue with having the video sermons up there because Facebook and YouTube have deleted all of our videos, and the website used to point to those. But you can still see pictures of the picnic and my ordination and Lynn's ordination. So you can get to know who your spiritual family is at www.oasiscsl.org. We're in the process of working on it. We just have to figure out a solution so that we can make sure that all the sermons are there. In the meantime, you can get them from YouTube for recent, I think it's a year, and on SoundCloud for the years prior. So it's all under S. Tucker. All right. Since Oz is not here, that would be me praying us out. So close your eyes if that feels comfortable. I'm just knowing right now that this week is blessed. I'm thankful for the service today, knowing how it uplifted and inspired all of us. And I go forward this week, blessing every one of us in our endeavor to stop looking at the other person for the solution and look within for that answer. And so for that, I give great thanks, and I just let it be. And so it is. Amen. All right. I will see you next week, hopefully. We are having our Mother's Day healing ceremony this week. And like I said, Tina will be here to share in the music as well as Faith. We have our services at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, USA time. So definitely come and see us next week. And there's 1,000 places you could be on a Sunday morning, and we're so glad you were here with us. So thank you, all of you. And until we meet again, stay safe. Bye.